All right, sir. So if you could please introduce yourself again, who you are, what you do.
All right, man. I'm the Reverend Anntimo D. Bennett Sr., but better known as just Anntimo, man. Timo. That's me. But that's my official title, I guess. I'm supposed to give people. I'm still getting used to using that title.
Okay.
So yeah, that's me.
Okay, that's dope. So you're preaching now,
Yeah.
which is dope.
I'm a preacher. Been a little over a year. August 4th, 2014. I preached my first sermon at the Greater Mount Baker Missionary Baptist Church.
Nice.
So.
How was your path to get into preaching?
My path getting to preaching, it was long. I'll put it like this. I definitely walked through the valley of the shadow of death. I'll put it like that. Because I ran from it. I ran for 7 years, really. I've known I was supposed to be a preacher. I was called to be a preacher, a minister, since I was 12 years old. And like even then, I would put on a oversized bathrobe and pick up a little Bible and act like I was a Pentecostal preacher and be practicing preaching to, the couch or stuffed animals, because I just knew it was just always in me. But I kind of went away from that as I got older. You kind of get out on your own. You want to experience life for yourself. And that's exactly what I did. And then, after I made some choices, then I kind of felt like, man, I can't be no preacher, man. Just for some of the stuff I was doing, some of the stuff I had done. So I ran from it. But I just got to a point where I was just like, man, it's time to stop running. Just because I'm all about, trying to change the world, one person at a time. But I know I got to start with myself first. And so I finally was like, man, I need to get me right, and I need to do what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I want to be happy. I was getting to a point where I was like, I'm not fulfilled.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right, so a lot of people know, I don't know how many people know, but you're a student body president. Is it student body president? Associated student body president?
Yeah, student body president.
Student body president?
Yeah.
But the first though.
Yeah. Well, let me, I gotta be accurate and get the correct information, because that's been a misconception that a lot of people have. I actually was not the first black student body president at the school. I'm just the first that anybody really knew. There actually were 2 other African American presidents at the University of Washington, student body presidents. The first was a Nigerian brother, actually, and I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not even going to attempt to. And then the second was Franklin Donahue, and he's still in the area and does work in the area. So I actually was a third. So I was just the first, I guess you could say I was the first black president, student body president that had been amongst the people. I think a lot more students knew who I was prior to me becoming the student body president than the others, which is why a lot of students thought that I may have been. So if you weren't involved with student government, you wouldn't have known that there were other black student body presidents.
Because I had no idea.
Right. And so, and I didn't think it helped because, I'm born and raised in Seattle, so I already knew a lot of cats that went to UW that were from the area. And then I was, in a fraternity, so then a lot of cats knew me from that. And so I just was more known, and then I also made myself more known. I think that was one of the things that helped me to even get elected, was that I tried to shake as many hands and meet as many people as I could. So I didn't stay up in that little bubble of just student government students, what I mean? So.
And how did that come about? Or how did you even want to do that?
So how did that come about? I mean, honestly, I didn't even really want to do student government. So I have to actually go back to when I first got to UW, because I transferred from Shoreline Community College. And so I started at UW in January 2006, so it was a winter quarter when I started. My first 2 quarters at UW were horrible. I was on academic probation, and then I almost got kicked out. They were like, if you don't get it together, I'm paraphrasing, bro, you got to go. You know what I mean? So I almost got kicked out after my first 2 quarters at UW. And so during that summer, I didn't take any classes. I was like, man, I got to get myself together. I got to get this right. I had struggled so much to even just get there, because prior to even getting to UW, I got a GED when I was 20, stopped going to school after 7th grade, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to get my life right. I had just had a daughter, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I gotta be able to take care of my daughter. And everybody kept telling me education is the key. It's gonna open up all these doors. So I was like, I gotta go to school. So I get to UW, almost get kicked out. That summer, I kind of made a decision, I gotta turn stuff around. I heard, people talking about how you gotta dress for success. And so I made a decision, starting that fall quarter, I started going to school, shirt and tie every day. Some days I wore a whole suit, but at least I would wear a shirt and tie. So from that fall quarter till I graduated, I wore a shirt and tie, slacks, dress shoes every day. People thought I was a new student. I'm like, man, this is my third quarter here. I ain't new. But it forced me to carry myself different, because when you're looking nice, you ain't trying to get dirty. You don't want nobody stepping on you. You know what I'm saying? So you just walk different. You even start talking different when you looking fly. You know what I mean? So I started walking and talking different. My grades started improving. And so I was already in the fraternity, so I had held leadership positions in the fraternity. But then, I decided, man, let me try to leave a legacy, for my daughter, So I was like, let me try to get involved on campus a little bit. So I started off with just like Black Student Union, just trying to be around stuff like that. And then some other students saw me and were like, man, you should consider, getting involved with student government. I'm like, I don't know nothing what it's about. And so they broke it down to me like this. It's basically like high school, like the ASB. You got a president, vice president, and all that. It's basically just like high school, but just in college. And I'm like, all right, whatever. I mean, I didn't go to high school, but whatever, I'm down. So I ran in that election. That would have been like my junior year. I ran unopposed, so I basically automatically was, elected into the position. I did it. I was like, okay, cool. I made my little mark. My name, my picture's gonna go on the wall. There's gonna be something for my daughter to come visit and look at. I'm good. But I guess after that year, unbeknownst to me, a lot of students had kind of were, peeping me out and just like, and so they came and approached me and were like, man, we think you should run for president. And actually I said no. And I was like, I don't want to do it. I'm good. It's not for me. I'm not all about the politics, you know what I mean? Like, these cats are fake, man, and they're taking it way too serious. This is not real life. Like, and a lot of these cats that are involved in student government, their goal is to be future politicians. Like, that's their goal. So they're using this as practice and as their training ground to become the next mayor, senator, state representative or whatever. And for me, I'm like, nah, I'm majoring in social work. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to work with kids. Like, I'm not trying to be, they're all poli-sci majors and stuff like that, and they're trying to go to law school. Wasn't my thing. So I struggled with it. And it wasn't until Dr. Sheila Edwards-Lang, she was the vice provost of the Office of Minority Affairs, she came to me and said, we need you. And that's when I was like, all right, man, I need to consider this. Like, when I had a faculty member, in a high-ranking position, and she's a sister, like, man, educated, smart, educated, and was like, man, we need you in this position, at least to try. Then I was like, all right. And so there I went and ran, and man, the people got behind your boy, and I got elected. I don't know what they was thinking, but I got elected. So.
All right. So last question I'm gonna ask you, bro. It's about being Greek.
Yeah.
And just kind of some of the. You saw it, the video that we posted, me and Akeem, about Black fraternities.
Right.
So talk to me about some of the myths that you have to debunk being Greek and being Black Greek at the same time.
Man, some of the myths you have to debunk, huh? I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, whatever you've heard is false, but also whatever you've heard is probably true. That's just the way it is. I mean, it's hard to really answer that without being specific, but there's a lot of truth to the myths, and there's also just some stuff that's like, come on, man. Like, it's just way out there. I will say that for me, I know it's not something that's for everyone, and that's cool, but for me, I feel like it was probably one of the best things that I had done. Because at the time, because I don't think I would even have really made the decision to really go to college had it not been for Kappa Alpha Psi. Because like a lot of my mentors, like my pastors, he's Kappa. One of my mentors, he's Kappa. The woman who gave me my first job, her husband is a Kappa from my chapter. And I didn't know this at the time. But there was these men that were trying to build me up, talking to me, just like, come on, man, you got to do better, bruh. And I just liked how they carried themselves. And that was my summer job. One of my mentor, I worked with him. One day he was out there in the grass. We were at a park. You know, 'cause I work with kids, so we were out in the park. He had his cane. He was just, you know, he was just twirling, and I was just like, man, let me see that. And he's like, nah, you can't touch this. And I was like, what? He's like, what's that barrel? And he's like, man, I'm a noob. I'm like, what is that? You know, I'm a Kappa on the side. And then I was just like, okay. And then my interest was piqued, and I was like, man, I'm trying to do that. I want to do that. You know, he's like, man, you got to go to school. I wasn't even in school at the time. He's like, man, you got to go to school. You got to be in college. I was like, for real? Bet. And then that's basically what happened. There's a lot of bad. I mean, don't get me wrong. But I think like that's with anything. Mm-hmm. You know, the church. There's some bad folk in the church. There's some bad folk in business. There's some bad folk in sports. You know, there's bad folk everywhere. I think sometimes that overshadows the good. So for me, it was just like, man, I'm definitely gonna do that. And I felt, and I didn't really. I mean, I'm gonna be real. I didn't really look at nothing else. Like there was no point. Even though when I told them I was interested, they like, man, you gotta go do your research. I'm like, man, nah, I know what I'm trying to do, man. And I did it. I had my daughter around the same time I pledged. So, you know, she was with me when I was, you know, learning my information. You know, put it like that. When I was learning the history and stuff like that, my daughter was right there with me, fresh out. So, yeah, it definitely was something that I feel was a great decision for me. Yeah. So, but everything you hear, some of it's true and some of it's not. You know, it just depends on what you want to believe and not. You know, but that video to me was hilarious. I mean, some cats don't get all serious and get in their feelings, but that was a joke because there's a lot of truth to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so I was like, that's funny.
But yeah, bro, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh man.